Outsourcing for killer profits. The secret to ramping up your business is simply how well you use the skills of others. I will show you how to hire experts including web designers, programmers, voiceover artists, and more, plus pay them almost nothing. Find out how easily and inexpensively you can hire a professional to write software for you, write an ebook for you, do voice recording, edit video, or almost anything you need done. Visit hire-me-network.com for more information and to sign up for our free mailing list, which gives you tips on using Hire Me sites. I do not guarantee any income levels because your experience can vary depending on many factors, including experience and motivation. Introduction. Welcome to the Outsourcing for Killer Profits course. Have you heard the expression, if you want something done right, do it yourself? Try applying that bit of wisdom when your hot water stops flowing, your car shows the check engine light, or when you have a pain in your stomach. How about doing it yourself when you need C++ programs written, or when you need a new website for your business, or you want to design a new electronic circuit? When you want something done right, you hire an expert. The same logic applies to business. A business owner should never waste time figuring out how to do some simple task or doing some repetitive task that anyone could complete. The business owner's time is better spent running and marketing the business. This is a major mistake many business owners make. They try to do everything themselves. I myself was one of those do-everything entrepreneurs for a long time, but then I got smart. I tried writing software, but in the end it was not very good and took me a long time. I tried to create websites, but they did not come out looking very good and took a long time. Finally, I realized I had to hire someone, but I could not afford a full-time programmer or web designer. The local Yahoos offering web design services with their fancy business cards and flash-filled sample sites wanted to charge me $2,000 and make my site 10 times more complicated than I needed. I could not afford that. Besides, all I wanted was a nicer-looking website. Fortunately, I discovered the internet makes it possible to hire experts at bargain prices at any time. From that point on, there was no looking back. I've since hired hundreds of people to do everything from write software, record audiobooks, correct grammar, and publish books. I've even hired people to answer questions about file sharing services so I could understand them better. And I hired people to enter data into new websites, to crop and adjust a folder of 200 photos because it was simply not worth my time to do such a job, especially when I could hire someone to do it for almost nothing. The ability to hire experts at affordable prices allows you to take your business to the next level. You don't have full-time employees to pay and you only hire people when you need them. Plus, you only hire the most qualified people for each job. I'm not talking about posting an advertisement on Craigslist or using any of the regular employment sites. Those will get you nothing but responses by flakes or people who want you to pay them $60,000 to $150,000 a year. I know. I tried. I posted web design jobs to Craigslist, and 90% of the self-proclaimed computer experts could not figure out how to click on the link at my website to submit their information, so they ignored my instructions and emailed instead with some of the strangest responses. You'll not find high-quality workers here, and you have no idea who you're dealing with because there are no ratings and no protection if they take your money and run. This is the real business many Craigslist web designers, remote workers, personal assistants, and programmers are in. They respond to postings for remote jobs and disappear when they get the money. You only need someone to update your website once every 3 months, so why hire them for a year? Why pay some consulting service or web design service thousands of dollars when you only want simple changes that take them a few minutes at the most? When you ask someone on a regular employment site like Monster.com or Dice.com to quote a price for a simple one-time job you want completed, they are bewildered. Not to mention the fact that you had to pay a lot of money to post that job. The very idea of working one flat-rate job is beyond their comprehension. I'm talking about using a special kind of employment site called a Hire Me site, where employers post jobs and freelance workers post bids of how much they're willing to be paid to do that job. There are many Hire Me network sites, all operated independently by different companies. The workers on these sites are not concerned with a full-time job. They want to be paid for the one job they're hired to complete. Why do you need an expert? Well, if you have an idea for a software program but you're not a programmer, you can hire one. If you write an ebook but you're not sure about the grammar, hire someone to proofread it. If you have notes but do not know how to write an ebook, hire someone to compile your notes into a book. If you make a video but don't know how to edit video, hire someone to edit your video together. Maybe you want an audio version of your ebook but don't want to read it yourself. Just hire a voiceover artist, a graphic artist to create the cover or to do other Photoshop work, a translator to convert your book to Spanish or German. Anything you need that can be done remotely can be hired out to someone through a Hire Me site. A Hire Me site is a type of website where willing experts bid on jobs. You post a job description that explains what you want. They tell you how much they want to do the job for. You pick the person you want to do the job. You pay the website, which holds the money in escrow. And when you're satisfied with the work, you tell the website to release the money to the person you've hired. If they do not do the work, or if it's simply bad, you don't have to pay. It's amazingly simple, and I hire experts all the time using this method. I've hired countless programmers to develop software that I thought would be useful. Sometimes it was for my own business, and some programs I sell. I've hired voice artists to read entire books, and I've hired graphic artists to do custom logos, websites, and more for my business. You can easily tap into these experts yourself. Using these experts makes developing products much easier. Before I dive into the details, I'll give you a quick rundown of how my projects usually work out. This will help you see how your business can benefit from Hire Me Network sites. First, I get an idea. I had just written the Scams and Scoundrels book about trading safely on eBay, and I realized that there were a lot of fraud signs that people needed to check for in eBay auctions. I knew what these signs were, but the average person was unlikely to remember everything in my book or go through a long checklist. So the question was, how can I help people automatically identify fraud signs without remembering everything in my book? Then it came to me that I could create a software program that would analyze auctions and identify common signs of fraud. There was my idea. Of course, when I say I would create, what I mean is that I would find someone to create. I can change my own oil in my car, but I'm no mechanic. I don't even change my oil. I let someone else do it. When I need a software program created, I hire an expert. I sat down and wrote out the requirements for the program. It would have been unrealistic to throw my book at the programmer and say, use this. No, I wrote down a set of rules that anyone could use. Check the seller sign-up date. Check the seller feedback rating. Check for this or that rule in the auction. Check the seller's past auctions. A long list of other tests and text string searches. These were simple rules, and I had the coders set up a simple data file that I could edit to update the rules and the text in the program. That allowed me to customize everything. If I wanted to change the text in the opening splash screen or in the help page, or if I wanted to add more rules, I could do it in the data file without having to go back to the coder for every little change. You may not always need a data file, and most of the time you can create a program without one. Once I had my rules set up, about a page of them, I went to a special website called Rent a Coder. This site allowed me to post my job as a bid request. I specify what I want and when I want it completed. Within minutes, I had several coders responding who wanted to work on my project. Each coder told me what he could do and how much he would charge. I let the bid request run for a couple of days until bidding slowed. Then I picked a coder based on their ability and the price I was willing to pay. From past experience, I knew that coders can be unreliable, so I also picked a second coder to work on the same job. I now have 2 coders writing my program for me. They ask any questions they might have. At the end of the job, the time I specified, which was 21 days, one coder failed to submit the final code, and the other code submitted a finished and working project. I did not have to pay the coder who did not finish the job. I tested the final code from the other coder, and it worked. I paid the other coder. I then tested the program and made my final tweaks and changes to the rules file until it was working like I wanted. I then posted the program to my website, auctioninquisitor.com, where people could download it for free. I could have charged for it, but this was supposed to be a free project. I own all of the rights to the software because it was done as a work for hire. The coder does not receive any royalties. Once he was paid, that was the end of the project. If I need more changes, I can rehire him or hire another coder to make the changes. Do you see how easy this is? I had an idea, wrote down how I wanted my software to work, had someone else do the work, and now I have a program that I can sell or give away forever. I'm sure you've needed software that you could not find. Often simple software can be the best sellers because it solves a problem people have. This site is not limited to coders and software, even though that's what the name says. You can hire people to proofread, do voiceover work, graphics work, design websites, make web scripts, create custom shopping carts, almost anything that can be done remotely. Other sites. I will refer to Rent-A-Coder, which is rentacoder.com, or abbreviated as RAC. That's the site I have the most experience with, but all of the advice applies equally to all similar sites. These sites offer services where you can hire someone under contract. I hire almost everyone I use through RAC. I do use Elance for writing projects and voiceover work. Elance has many writers, translators, etc. Rent-A-Coder sounds too technical for them, so they prefer Elance. I sometimes hire writers on RAC, but the better ones are on Elance. I'm good at writing and can write my own ebooks, but sometimes it's worth hiring someone to save time. I needed a historical introduction to one of my ebooks, and it was easier to pay someone to write a 10-page intro for $275 than it was for me to pull everything together, sit down, write, and rewrite. When they finished, I did my final polish and check, which took about 20 minutes, and I then had to upgrade the introduction that added enormous perceived value to my product. It was also very informative and put the product into perspective, which gave it value. Most marketers would have thrown this historical reference ebook out and hoped it sold. I made an audio version and this introduction that was also a 1-hour audio presentation, which made the product much more valuable. It was an easy sell at that point. Limitations. There are some limitations to hiring through the internet. You must have a job that can be done remotely. If you have a piece of hardware like an industrial computer board that plugs into a computer which you want a control program for, then you would have to send one to the programmer, and you might not get it back. This can be done, but make sure you trust a coder from past jobs before sending them anything physical to do the job. Jobs that can be completed remotely are best, such as programming or other projects where you can send digital files. For a project like this, you might hire a coder. Let him write the code so that the board is not used. For instance, read and write data to a file. Then, when he's finished, hire a local programmer to finish the job. This will be much cheaper than hiring a local coder to do the entire job. The project cannot be too complicated. You cannot realistically hire a single coder and expect them to develop an Xbox game or a replacement for Microsoft Windows. Those are massive projects. You must pick simple projects that a single coder can reasonably complete. Coders can reasonably finish jobs like creating a custom shopping cart for your website and desktop applications. Keep your job simple. You can always hire a second coder to make changes and add features later. Do not try to throw in all possible features in the first version. If you have a job that uses a database or uses large amounts of information, do not give those to the coder. Give him some dummy or test information or a sample of the data. Then when you have the working program, you can add your own data. That's how I structured a number of my software programs. The Auction Inquisitor software, for example, was too complicated for a coder to figure out everything. I had him write the program that used certain rules which were stored in a file. Then after he wrote the program, I wrote the rules myself, which is the real value of the software. You can hire someone to do any of these: PC, Mac programs, HTML websites, PHP websites, SEO, Flash sites, voiceover work, read audiobooks, commercials, and radio spots, writing, proofreading and grammar correction, graphics, Flash, language translation, sales and marketing, legal, logo design, brochure design, illustration for books and sites, banner design, ebook cover design, video editing, engineering, create hardware designs and prototype, any related work such as forum posting, etc., and more.